All right, greetings everybody. This is Mr. D talking to you about the Burn Time Lab digital assignment. This may be your first digital assignment in my class, so pay attention. First off, all of our assignments are going to start with a rubric that is right here at the top. You can see that it has multiple categories and then multiple sets of scoring. Your goal, of course, is to get to that last area. You're then going to make sure you put your name below there, and you're going to then want to look at these notes. Rename the document to week 1 dash burn time lab, then your last names, and then the class code. The class code can be found in this directions for naming link right here in case you don't know what it is. Do not delete that rubric. Make sure every student includes their name at the bottom of the rubric there. You are required to add something meaningful to the assignment. If you just log on and change a couple things, change and delete, you will not get credit, so make sure that you add something meaningful. If you have to add on to what was done before, then add on to what was done before. If for some reason there's somebody who does not contribute to the assignment, then please make sure that you send me an email so that I can deal with them directly. If you do not add anything to the assignment, then you will not receive a grade. Share the final assignment with me at that email address. Then with these digital assignments, you're going to get an introduction. This introduction will then explain what is required of you. And this video will be a link right there that you can click to be able to watch it. I then give you the purpose of the lab and then any safety concerns, which I will often hide other sorts of good information for you there, so please read it. You will then have the first category of grading is these pre-lab questions. You may research the answers online as needed. If you do not know them, that's fine. Remember, you can just double click on the red lines and then type to fill in whatever your answer is. Part of the pre-lab question is to develop a hypothesis, which is already set in the if, then, because format, just to make your life a bit easier. The procedure is then included, which is just to give you an idea of what happened in the lab. Make sure you read over the procedure to get an idea of what happened. Then here, you'll see this type of text a lot. This is the text I like to use when when it's being an example of a student writing on it as opposed to me typing on the document. This is what a student would have written for you to review. So this talks to you about what the students wrote for you to then interpret. Make sure you use the insert table and delete the list when done, so that way I can just grade you on your data table. Then you get to make a graph. Now you can watch a video on a proper graph by clicking this link over there to a nice YouTube video about how to do it in Google Sheets. You can use Google Sheets, Excel, or another program, or if you want, you can use this starter one that's below. All you have to do is click this, click on this link chart options, go to open source, and then you can alter to your heart's content. Make sure that is an XY scatter document where you do not connect the dots. Use your burn time average on one axis, your flash size on the other. Make sure you have a title, axes titles with units and clear data points. You will also need a trend line and its linear equation for you to do math with later. And optional, if you want a possible bonus, make sure you add the R squared value and any colors to maximize the effect of your graph. So there's your starter. Feel free to use it if you wish. All right, then the post-lab questions. I again double click on the red and type, summarize what the graph is about. Then answer these questions that involve you reading the graph, whether you are looking at the trend line itself, whether you're using the equation. Then you have to make a evaluation call on which is more accurate and why. You then have to sit there and figure out how it would last in a much bigger flask and how you would get that answer. Extrapolation is getting data that is outside of the graph's range, where interpolation is getting data from within the range of the graph that is already typed there. And then there's all sorts of questions for you to answer. You need to calculate the burn time per milliliter for each flask. You should be using the averages for the burn time. In fact, I will write that on there later. And then there are more questions. The percent error formula, which you will see several times, is right there. And you're going to be using that. Remember to show your work when it says show work. You can delete the show work thing and just type, or you can show work after the arrow. Both of those work. Whichever you want to use, go right ahead. And then there are more questions. There are a bit of a conclusion, and then you get to the last thing, which is error statements. You need to say whether these were major errors, which means they had a very noticeable effect, or a minor error where their effect was pretty much ignorable. And just to let you know, in this lab, there will be 2 major and 2 minor errors. 2 major and 2 minor, 2 of each. That's a little bonus for you actually watching the video and staying to the end. Enjoy. Make sure that if you are working on this, you participate in pretty much each section. I mean, you may want to divide out the work so one person does the table, one person does the graph, but it's way better to do these digital labs by meeting up in Zoom or in Teams so that you can all work on it at the same time, ask questions back and forth, just like you would do in a face-to-face setting where you were working with your lab group. So even though you can do it piece at a time and you can use the comments or whatnot, I mean, go ahead and do that. But it is better if you find some sort of way to interact live, whether it's FaceTime, Zoom, or whatever. Last but not least, when it comes to this, if for some reason one of your group members does not participate whatsoever, that is an email to me, and then I will ask you to leave a chunk of work that is slightly less than even for them to do later if they choose to start to participate. That work will not count towards for or against you as it is done, as that will be left for them. So for example, since this is going to be a 3-person group, you could have one person do, the pre-lab and data table, another person do the graph and, some of the post-lab questions, and the last person do the rest of the post-lab questions. That would work as long as you are all checking each other's work and you are all staying active. If for some reason somebody isn't there, then you would leave for them those post-lab questions for them to take care of themselves, as you do need to do the data table and the graph in order to do any of the post-lab questions. But you should not leave the entire post-lab for them to do, because that is way more work than any student should do. Remember, ideally, you will do the whole assignment, but if somebody is not there, it is better to leave them a chunk to do later. That's less work on you, and that allows me to give them that so that they have a chance to catch up. People who chronically take advantage of this will be removed from normal groups and placed into their own special group, but that was discussed in another video. If you have any questions, remember to email me at ddeitch@soudertonsd.us, and good luck. Take care. Farewell. Bye.